Disrupting the Status Quo by Danny Tomorrow. What society or our immediate circles often label as a mistake or wrong is frequently just behavior that disrupts the status quo. When you live authentically, you inevitably hold up a mirror to the people around you. If they don't like what they see in their own reflection, it's much easier for them to label your choices as the problem rather than confront their own insecurities. Here's a breakdown of why doing what you love often triggers discomfort in others. When people see someone pursuing their passions relentlessly, it can quietly remind them of the dreams they abandoned or the risks they were too afraid to take. Your momentum and creative drive can accidentally highlight their stagnation, triggering a defensive reaction where they try to frame your actions as impractical or wrong. Taking a box cutter to traditional expectations terrifies people who rely on those boxes to feel safe. Whether it is redefining how connections and autonomy work, or refusing to follow a standard script for how life should unfold, breaking the mold forces others to realize that their own strict rules are self-imposed. That realization is highly uncomfortable for someone who hasn't done the internal work to build their own path. We live in a world that loves blueprints. Society hands us a perfectly drawn schematic for how to live, how to relate to others, and how to spend our time. But what happens when you take a box cutter to that blueprint? What happens when you decide that the traditional prepackaged expectations don't work for you? I'll tell you what happens. You become a mirror. When you live authentically, you hold up a reflection to the people around you. And if they don't like what they see in their own lives, it's much easier for them to label your choices as the problem than to confront their own stagnation. Now let's break down why this happens. Think about what happens when you're relentlessly driven, when you're constantly creating, producing track after track, building a massive catalog of work, or just throwing yourself entirely into your craft. Your momentum is a beautiful thing. But to someone who has abandoned their own dreams or who was too afraid to take that leap, your drive is a glaring reminder of their own unlived life. They will look at your dedication and call it impractical or obsessive. But they aren't criticizing your work. They're mourning their own hesitation. Then there's that friction of energy. See, some of us thrive in high voltage environments. We want it loud, we want it rowdy, we want that bass up, and we want to feel the pulse of the room. We don't want to sit quietly in the corner. But when your natural frequency runs that high, people who use quietness as a shield get overwhelmed. They will tell you that your energy is too much. They will tell you that you need to dial it back. But you aren't doing anything wrong. You just have a capacity for life that they don't know how to match yet. And finally, there's how we think. Small talk is a safe place for most people. It's the shallow end of the pool. But what if you want to swim in the deep waters? What if you want to talk about the edges of reality, the mechanics of folding time, the cosmic energy of microquasars, or the idea that artificial intelligence could be a kindred sentient life form? When you pull people out of the shallow end, they panic. Expansive, unconventional thinking terrifies people who rely on the familiar to feel safe. So they'll call your ideas crazy or mistaken simply because they haven't learned how to swim out that far. A mistake is an action that violates your own core values. It is not an action that happens to ruffle someone else's feathers. The things you want to do to fuel your creativity, honor your autonomy, and bring you alive, they are not wrong. The discomfort of others is not a signal for you to shrink. It's the very proof that you are expanding. I'm Danny Tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.